before, same idea about the position, same thing. I'm going to set her just like we just did, and I was doing just rhythmic initiation, okay, just having her move, okay. So here's that over the bowl into anterior elevation, and then I'm just bringing it back down. So here's my anterior elevation. You can see how her scapula is rolling in that position, okay. Now, if I want to start having her work into anterior elevation and starting to progress this to some resistance, I can't keep my hands here, okay, because if I say pull up, she has no idea what that means. So that's where we have to start being surface specific with our hands. All right. So from right here, if I set her and bring her all the way down here, and I want her to start to pull up into anterior elevation, now here's where I have to take my hands, and I'm going to put my hands and rest them one on top of the other, and I'm going to conform into that lumbrical grip. So we talked about your lumbricals. Okay, my thumbs are sticking up, just I don't have my thumbs on her. But when I come on to the front of her, or the anterior aspect of her shoulder, I come here and I'm resting my hands on and then conforming to that lumbrical grip. I've now given her a flat surface to pull up into. Okay? So I set her, I bring her down to her end range. Here's my contact with her. All right? Now, one other technique that we talked about in the slideshow, and we'll start practicing it now as we start to do. Now, I did rhythmic initiation, so she knows where I want her to go. Anyone remember, what did I say? If we're going to try to start doing something to get initiation, what can we use to get initiation?
Quick stretch.
Quick stretch, exactly. So what I'm going to do is bring her down. Here's her end range. Okay? So here's her end range of her anterior elevators. They're at maximal length. Since I've got that tension on there, if I add a quick stretch while I tell her to pull up, I'm going to get that neuroreflexive response to get those muscles to kick in. Okay? A quick stretch is very gentle. It comes from my body. So what it'll look like, I'll show you first and then talk you through it a little bit. I bring her down to here. She's at her end range. Okay? Now I want you to go ahead and pull up. Good. And let it come back down. And I'll show you again. So I'm at her end range. I've got tension on that muscle. I say ready and pull up. Let it come down. Okay? So all I did, relax for a second. This is like air PNF, just showing you what I was doing. So my hands are right here. My body, everything's in that direction. I bring her down so there's some tension, and I time my verbal cue with what I'm doing. So I say, all right, and pull up. So as I come back down, she wants to pull right back up. So I have to immediately give her resistance. I can't go here and go pull up. That just doesn't work. Okay, I've got to go pull up and add resistance to it so she knows exactly where I want her to go. Okay, so again, working, setting the scapula. I bring her down to her end range. I reposition my hand so that I'm just on that superior anterior surface. I make sure she's at her end range. I'm going to give you a little bit of a quick stretch, and I want you to pull up. Keep coming, good, and let it come back down. And pull up, and let it come back down. Again, body mechanics wise, pull up. The only thing on me that's working is my legs. Pull up, and back down. Okay? So that's the quick stretch component of it. I'm quick stretching her, and she's basically pulling my weight shift from my back leg to my front leg. Okay? The only other thing I want to just emphasize before we go and practice is what my hands are doing. All right? If my body's doing the resistance, what are my hands doing with this? My hands are doing traction. Okay? If all I do is resist and pull down on her and she pulls up against it, she's just going to pull into that straight plane motion. That's going to be that skid. But if my hands are providing traction, so while I'm resisting her, my hands are like they're trying to come off of her, that's going to get that rotation component. We know that traction facilitates the rotation. All right, so I usually keep my thumbs pointing up when I'm doing this because it will usually show the direction that my hands are pulling. Okay, so if I bring her here and I start here, I'm tractioning her with my hands. So if I was slippery or she was real sweaty, I'd be sliding right off here. That's the direction my hands are coming. They're not just coming straight down. Okay, so right here, I bring her down to her end range, and I want you to go ahead and pull up. And my hands, the direction of my thumbs have to change in order to get that rotation component, and pull up. So there's my anterior elevation, getting the rotation. Again, if I don't traction, watch her scapula as I'm doing this now. Pull up and see that rolling idea. If I stop with the traction, go ahead and pull up. It's much more just shearing. Can you guys see that? All right, so that's what we're going to go to now. We're going to do just resisting and anterior elevation. So you already did your rhythmic initiation, so she knows what the direction is. Here's where we're going. Okay, now I'm going to take her down to the end range. I'm going to change my contacts, Get that lumbrical grip right here. She's at her end range. I'm going to add a quick stretch and say, come on and pull up and let it come down. And pull up and come down. So she's only working concentrically right now. She's pulling up. We're just relaxing and letting it come back down. Okay? So let's go